Welcome once again to Humans TV Africa. It is the man in the middle we are launching today, and your host and author is none other than Kato Mukasa. And in the studios, I'm with my brother Dennis Bongole to do the work behind the scenes. And of course, I have a number of guests that are going to be part of this memorable historical launch. I'm grateful, I'm happy, I'm humbled that I got 32 individuals of good standing, all willing to speak a word today. Some of you have written messages, articles on the book, which we shall be playing in the next episodes. But also, most of you have sent in videos, have sent in messages, in recorded messages, all talking about the man in the middle. Today, we are launching the man in the middle. We are looking at autocracy. We're looking at what I call mafia capitalism, and we're looking at an inside story about the death economy, Africa's death economy, and what we can do to fix it. We are launching a book we have called The Man in the Middle. I'm very grateful and extremely humbled and honored and exceedingly grateful to one gentleman in the UK here, Mr. Paul Evans, who has been more than a father to me, who has done incredibly a lot of good things for me, but also for many people in Africa. Mr. Paul Evans and your wife, this goes to you to say thank you so much. Now, today we are launching one important book, one very important book, and this book is called The Man in the Middle. Why is it called The Man in the Middle? The answer is right in that book. Why is it called? It's so important for us today as people in Africa, as people in the world, because we need this book. We need to understand what is the problem, what is our history, where are we going, how can we fix the problems we are facing today. This is all about this book. One day, one of the most exciting authors in Africa, I've got a number of authors in Africa, from Alecha Amadi, Chinua Achebe, Walter Inca, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and many, many others. One of these authors was asked to mention his best book. He said, it's like having a child. How do you say this is my favorite and this is not my favorite? But I should tell you without a grain of doubt that in all books I've written about politics, this is my very best. The Man in the Middle is my very best piece of work on politics, on governance, on global politics and economy, and on Africa. I want to encourage you to listen. Take a listen to the people who are going to be speaking today in this launch and learn a thing or two about this book. The book, as I said, is called The Man in the Middle, The Continent of the Mafia Capitalism, and of course, Corporatocracy. It is about the inside story of Africa's death economy and what we can do about it. We want to fix the death economy of Africa. Why did I choose to talk about the death economy of Africa? Because in my training, my first degree is in economics. I'm an economist from that angle. But again, I'm a lawyer. Now, I've combined my knowledge as an economist and as a lawyer and as a researcher and as a traveler, as an observer to write this book. Today, I live in the UK, but I watch everything going on in the world. And I'm not happy with what is happening in motherland Africa. And I want to be part of the people providing solutions than part of the people complaining. I'm tired of complaining. I want us to fix Africa. I want us to find solutions together. This book is like a launching pad. We are going to find solutions together. And this book puts one single brick to that journey. I want to thank you all, the 32 individuals who have been part of me in launching this book. You have done justice. And I want to invite the audience to take a listen and hear what we have to say. This book is on Amazon. You can get a copy on Amazon. This book is on Books Bay, and it is also on Gumroad. That is the book, The Man in the Middle. Please simply, as my producer is going to be putting the links there, simply go to Amazon and put in Kato Mukasa, The Man in the Middle, or go to books.bay and put in my name, Kato Mukasa, The Man in the Middle, or you can also go to Gumroad, put in my name, Kato Mukasa, and the title of the book, The Man in the Middle. You'll get yourself a copy, hard copy, soft copy, name it. Be part of the solutions. Remember, whatever you're going to make out of this book is going to be empowering the girl child in Uganda. It's going to be a give back to my college, which is called Pearl Vocational Training College. So whatever you're going to give us, by buying this book, you are supporting a girl child to go back to school, especially young mothers, pregnant girls back in Uganda. There is a college that we use to support them. So whatever comes from this book will directly go to support the vulnerable girls and young women in that college. Join me as we take a journey to launch this book. It is a 284 pages with very beautiful written chapters. Trust me, you are going to enjoy this book. I want to invite my producer, and we start on a journey to listen to what the great thinkers of the world have said. Remember, you're going to hear voices from people in Africa, in the US, in the UK, and all over the world, giving tribute, making a contribution, speaking a word or two about this book. This is the book I'm talking about, The Man in the Middle. The Man in the Middle, a continuum of mafia, capitalism, and corporatocracy. The inside story of Africa's death economy and what we can do about it. That is the book. Simply go to Gumroad, put in Kato Mukasa, and the title, The Man in the Middle, you'll get yourself a copy, or go to Amazon, put in my name, Kato Mukasa, and the title, The Man in the Middle, you'll get yourself a copy, or go to books.bay, books.buy, and then you'll get yourself a copy, a soft copy or a hard copy. It will come within a few days. You'll be having a copy of that wonderful book. Remember, when you read this book, we're supporting the girl child in Uganda, because every coin that comes out will directly go to Uganda to support Pearl Vocational Training College. Let us take this journey of launching this book, and we're going to be starting with none other than Mr. Dr. Zakim Bai. Thank you so much. Take a listen.
Zakim Bai. I'm a public servant. I'm also a humanist here in Nigeria. I want to commend the author of the book, The Man in the Middle, by Mr. Kato Mukasa. This book is very, very inspiring, incisive, and very educative for all those who want to know about Africa's problem, the fundamental issues, why Africa is not developed, is not catching up with other developed countries. Talking about the trans-capitalist corporations who are here in Africa, exploiting African resources, in connivance with the corrupt politicians who are also looting the taxpayers' money, and they left Africa in a deplorable and pathetic position. The book is an eye-opener that will chart a way how Africa can come out from the poverty it found itself into affluence. It makes us to understand that actually the essence of governance or leadership is to serve the people. The resources of the land should be put in use for the people, not for the foreign trans-capitalist corporations. I urge you to read this book to get educated and understand the fundamental issues why Africa is not developing. And I'm assuring you, it's going to open your eyes into a new perspective about the African continent. Thank you. My name is Zacha Baye. I'm a public servant.
Kato of Africa is a scar on the conscience of the world. But if the world focus on it, we could heal it. And if we don't, it will become deeper and angrier. These are the words of the former British Prime Minister, Tony Blair. What he meant was that Africa is still languishing in poverty, extreme poverty, diseases like HIV and AIDS, conflicts like the same we have in Rwanda, in Congo, and all calamities that some other world have gone past, some other people have gone past. I am Matundura. My name is Matundura Ongera. I'm from Kenya, and I live in Germany. I'm a student studying in the disciplinary course of philosophy, politics, and economics. So basically, I'm an enthusiast in development studies. I'm honored to be a guest speaker on the launch of this book by Kato Mukasa, a timely and a piercing critique of the systems that continue to suffocate Africa's potential. What struck me most in the book is the concept of the man in the middle itself. These are those individuals or institutions, if you like, both foreign and domestic, who position themselves between the African people and their resources. Whether it could be corrupt leaders, multinational corporations, or international financial institutions, they do profit at the expense of the citizens. Like a parasitic network, they feed off Africa's wealth while leaving behind despair, poverty, and dependency. This isn't just a theory, it's our lived reality. From Guinea to Kenya, South Africa to DRC, Mukasa documents how billions are looted, while our hospitals lack medicine, our schools collapse, our youth flee into deserts in search of dignity abroad. In my short-lived time in abroad in Germany, I've come across people who crossed the desert to get here. They came, 5 of them, 2 survived, or 1 survived. From the surface, you can think they're happy, but they hold deep experiences, sad experiences from the desert. Mukasa's work is not just a lament, it is a call to arms. He challenges us to reject dependency and to reawaken African values like Harambe. Harambe means pulling together. We can pull together to build hospitals. We can put pupils to school. In Kenya, we have politicians led by the president himself with his minions. They contribute millions of Kenyan shillings to churches every week, but they can't do the same to the hospitals. Mukasa urges us to reclaim our sovereignty by investing in education that reflects African realities, demanding accountability from leaders, and adding value to our resources before exports. Personally, as a young African in the diaspora, this book reminded me of our biggest battle. It's not just economic, it is psychological and a moral one. 2 things, psychological and a moral one. We must stop outsourcing responsibility for our transformation. As Mukasa rightly puts it, you don't need to be a keyboard warrior. At least, it's not enough to be a keyboard warrior, but become a proactive change maker. You and I can do that. My hope for the future is that a new generation of ethical, visionary, and Pan-Africanist leaders will rise, not just in politics but in business, in education, and civil society. This book, The Man in the Middle, is a roadmap, very blunt, very sobering, but ultimately hopeful. Africa's destiny must be authored by Africans. Allow me to thank my friend Kato Mukasa for your bold voice and courageous vision. I've known you from a distance, honestly, and I look forward in learning a lot from you. I admire your writings. I read a few of your books. I admire your boldness, your spirit of championing for humanity, and I really look forward that people will read this book. May this book also reach far and wide, and may it stir the hearts of those who still believe in a better Africa that is not only possible, but is necessary. So for all of us, let us read on this book and reflect. And finally, let us act. Thank you so much.
Friend of Kato Mukasa, I was delighted to read his book Man in the Middle. One of the sections that stuck out to me the most was titled Religion and Power, a critical look at its role in Africa. This chapter, which is chapter 21, dives into how Christianity and Islam were introduced to the continent of Africa via conquest, colonization, and trade. Historically, during the trans-Saharan slave trade, also referred to as the Red Sea slave trade, and the Indian Ocean slave trade, was a significant reason as to how Islam was spread. What's interesting about the trans-Saharan slave trade is that African Muslims were rather exempt from enslavement due to Islamic legal views. Muslim enslavers in Africa often sold non-Muslim Africans, like war prisoners, into slavery within the Islamic slave network. However, with the introduction of European slavers on the African coast throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, enslaved Africans were increasingly being sold into the transatlantic trade. Unlike African enslavers, Europeans often made no distinction between Muslims and non-Muslims, and stole free African Muslims to be enslaved. This process resulted in introducing the first practicing Muslims to the Americas. Even after the more well-known slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, was eventually shut down, though practices on a smaller scale still exist. The remnants of cultural enslavement and colonial imperialism are still alive and well. In Cato's book, he mentions in many African countries, politicians use religion to gain legitimacy and suppress dissent. Religious leaders endorse political figures in exchange for state benefits and influence. One thing that I would like to add is how evangelical Christian conservative organizations actively interfere with African politics in order to maintain cultural control over Africa through religion. The Family Watch International, a U.S. Christian conservative organization, has been accused of lobbying against LGBTQIA+ rights and reproductive access in Africa and globally. It has also been criticized for promoting a white Christian-centered view of traditional African family values. The Fellowship Foundation, another U.S. religious group, has been linked to the Anti-Homosexuality Act, 2023 law in Uganda and lobbied in Uganda to get Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni to sign the then bill into law in 2023. The Human Life International and Heartbeat International are known for opposing contraception and abortion and invested large amounts of funds to lobby legislation in Africa. The American Center for Law and Justice, ACLJ, also aggressively targets Africa to promote its far-right Christian views. These organizations have been consistently accused of actively campaigning against LGBTQIA+ rights and promoting discriminatory laws in African nations, impose their conservative Christian worldview on African societies and frame their agendas as authentically African, while simultaneously branding human rights advocacy as new colonialism. These organizations prove that just because the physical chains of the trans-Saharan and transatlantic slave trade are off does not mean that non-African religions can offer Africans liberation. Moving forward, Africa must understand that Christianity, Islam, and even Judaism are not African-centered religions based on truth, but were spread due to colonialism and the enslavement of our ancestors. The sooner Africans can return to traditional African practices that emphasized our ancestors, while embracing modern science and humane practices towards each other and the nature around us, will Africans be able to begin taking the blindfolds off and cast aside the Bibles, Qurans, and Torahs. Only then can Africans begin to decolonize culturally, then economically.
Many esteemed guests and fellow book lovers, it is my honor and pleasure to present to you The Man in the Mid by Advocate Kato, a thought-provoking book which takes a critical look at the complexities of Africa's economic and social landscape. My name is Tauya Chinama, a humanist leader from Zimbabwe. I am one of the friends of Kato when it comes to free thinking. We share a lot of political ideas and a lot of free thinking ideas, and we have been working on different projects together for the past years. Some of the projects worked together is Humanist TV Africa, where we used to work with also the likes of Linda Tilly. May the soul of Linda Tilly rest in peace, and I'm sure if she was alive, she was going to be happy to present something at this book launch of Kato Mukasa. Having said that about my name and my relationship with Kato Mukasa, let me take you through the book. Through 26 chapters, Kato Mukasa masterfully explores the harsh realities on African poverty, exploitation, and neocolonialism, from the unmasking of the man in the middle, Africa's hidden exploiters, to the analysis of the corporatocracy's influence. The book is a must-read for anyone seeking to understand the intricacies of Africa's challenges. The author takes us on a journey through Africa's pre-colonial economy, highlighting its innovative and prosperous past, and contrasts it with the illusion of Africa's economic rise without welfare of its people. The book also sheds light on the role of international financial institutions such as the World Bank and IMF in perpetuating dependence syndrome. What sets The Man in the Middle apart is its well-reasoned analysis of the leadership crisis, identity crisis, and the role of religion and power in Africa. The author also offers a gleam of hope, exploring the rise of a new wave of Pan-Africanism and proposing solutions for fixing Africa's economic and social problems. Let us be practical. Let us look at what is happening in the world. We have seen the aggression of Israel on Iran, which all level-headed minds, free thinkers would actually blame Israel for such a thing that's uncalled for. And where is the voice of Africa? Africa is silent. Why? Because some of the people who are being aggressive are part and parcel of the man in the middle. We've seen also how Israel is committing a genocide against the Palestinians. Thanks to South Africa for clearly challenging that. And South Africa has been clear, especially the likes of Julius Malema. We have seen how he has managed to stand with Iran, how he has managed to stand with Palestine. We want more of Julius Malemas in this continent. In Zimbabwe, we have an illusion of independence where we think independence is an event. Independence should be a process. It should be continued. So now, in the case of Zimbabwe, the government can be the man in the middle, which is being said by Kato. We have a good curriculum, but poorly implemented for our education. We should actually be asking for reparation, but no one is asking for reparation. I don't know why. The book is a call to action, urging Africans to reclaim their urgency and shape their own destiny as we launch the Man in the Middle. Today, I invite you to join the conversation, challenge your assumptions, and work towards a brighter future for Africa. Thank you, Kato Mukasa, for sharing your insights with us. I hope this book inspires a new generation of leaders and change makers to build a better Africa. Let us get the conversation started. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Dennis Nchanungi, a Ugandan asylum seeker in Zambia. As I reflect on the man in the middle, I'm struck by the book's powerful critique of mafia capitalism and corporatocracy in Africa. Mr. Mukasa's work sheds light on the systems that have hindered our continent's progress and offers practical solutions for creating lasting change. Personally, this book has expanded my understanding of the challenges facing Africa and the importance of African-led solutions. I have come to realize that our development agendas must be owned and driven by our own people rather than external forces. The book's emphasis on inclusive development resonates deeply with me, as I believe that Africa's progress depends on promoting economic and social justice for all citizens. The book highlights the need for African countries to take ownership of their development agendas and work towards self-sufficiency. This resonates with me, as I have seen how external forces undermine our progress and perpetuate inequality. By taking control of our own development, we can create a brighter future for all Africans. If Africa can implement some of the solutions highlighted in the book, I envision a future where our continent is a beacon of hope and prosperity for all its citizens. A future where every individual can live without fear of persecution or violence, and where everyone has access to quality education, health care, and economic opportunities. In this future, I see a continent that is driven by its own people, where everyone has a chance to thrive and contribute to their societies. I see a future where Africa is a leader in global affairs, where our voices are heard and perspectives are valued. I want to thank Mr. Kato Mukasa for this powerful and thought-provoking book. I encourage others to read and join the movement and join the conversation about building a brighter future for Africa where everyone can thrive. As I look to the future, I'm committed to continue this conversation, advocating for the rights of all citizens and working towards a more inclusive and equitable Africa. Thank you again to Mr. Kato Mukasa for inspiring us to think critically about our continent's challenges and opportunities.
Obasi Ikechukwu. I'm a humanist and a human rights activist, and also the director of Secular Advocacy TV. First of all, I appreciate Kato Mukasa for giving me the privilege to speak on his book, The Man in the Middle. Without mincing words, Kato Mukasa is not just an international lawyer and a Lego guru, a Lego juggernaut. He's mentor, a foremost international humanist and a human rights activist internationally. And he's also a modern Pan-Africanist who believes so much in restoring the dignity of Africa. That is why when he honored me with being one of the guest speakers at the book launch of this hallowed book, The Man in the Middle, I was so glad, because I needed to join hands with other great minds to talk about this great book. Going through the work, I was marveled because the work actually captured the political atmosphere in Africa. In fact, the work is coming at the moment when Africa really needed to be emancipated, to be liberated from this mental slavery and political slavery. The work actually captured the fact that after colonialism, where the white men, where the Europeans, yes, I prefer to use the Europeans or the Caucasians, the Caucasian imperialists, when they finished their game of colonialism, they didn't actually leave Africa. Rather, they decided to use African puppets to further colonize Africa. That is why the phase of colonialism left and gave way for neo-colonialism, neo-imperialism, where our African brothers are being used, to actually colonize the country. That is why I love his choice of title. The title is quite eponymous to the reality in the book, to the representation of fact in the book, because the man in the middle is really most of our political leaders. The man in the middle is not just our political leaders, but most of these international organizations that have become toothless bulldog, that have become the agents of neocolonialism. The man in the middle includes United Nations Organization, European Union, NATO, African Unity, even ECOWAS. It is fighting against that man in the middle that brought about great leaders like Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, Mali, and some of them that have arisen to champion the greatness of Africa, to restore the dignity of ancient Africa. So I'm grateful to Kato Mukasa, and I leave you with this word, that the man in the middle is a syndicate of political degeneracy and backwardness in Africa. So we must join hands with Kato Mukasa to eliminate this man in the middle by getting a copy of this book, reading through it, and actually discovering those men in the middle that we need to, stop from destroying our system. I think where he got the term man in the middle is cyber security language. Man in the middle is always an agent used to destabilize a working system. So I thank you, and I urge you to get the copy of that great masterpiece by a Ugandan lawyer, Kato Mukasa. Get your copy.
My name is Abraham, speaking to you from South Sudan. It is a great honor to share my voice in support of The Man in the Middle, a courageous and necessary book by my comrade, friend, lawyer Kato Mukasa. This is not just a book. It's a warning. A mirror. A wake-up call for Africa. Reading The Man in the Middle was like opening a locked door that many have tried to ignore. It explains, without fear, why millions of hard-working Africans still live in poverty despite all the natural resources, youth power, and potential this continent has. Kato Mukasa speaks of the man in the middle, the corrupt leaders, corporations, and foreign agencies who place themselves between the people and their freedom. These are the ones who loot aid, sell our minerals, and keep citizens poor while pretending to be their saviors. I have lived through that. As a refugee, I've seen how decisions made far away destroy lives nearby. But this book also shows us a way forward. Kato Mukasa reminds us that Africa's real wealth is not just in the soil, but in its people. And especially, its young people. We must revive the spirit of Harambee, pulling together, to reclaim our dignity, our economies, and our leadership. One lesson that hit me deeply was this. A rotten government cannot be reformed. It must be uprooted and replaced by a good people. This is not hate speech. This is truth. This is the voice of someone who believes in Africa, and in us. To every youth leader, activist, educator, refugee, and dreamer across this continent, I urge you to read The Man in the Middle. Don't just read it. Discuss it. Debate it. Act on it. Because Africa will not be rescued by aid. Africa will rise when we stop tolerating those who benefit from keeping us down. To you, Kato Mukasa, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom, your bravery, and your relentless call for justice. This book is not just pages. It is a movement. And I am proud to be part of it. Let's rebuild Africa, together. Thank you.
Greetings, comrades. Reading Kato Mukasa's Man in the Middle has been one of those profoundly deep moments. Some of the moments you wish that do not end anytime soon. The way he elucidates the maladies facing Africa is just out of this world. Just this month of July 2025, I learned that USAID, one of the agencies in the United States that distributes aid in Africa, have been shut down completely. That means some of the programs it was supporting in Africa have to come to a stop, no more funding. But my question is, what's that African obsession with foreign aid? I always believe that African problems require African solutions. One of the African solutions that are required are in food security. Since time immemorial, Africans have been self-sufficient when it comes to food. We have always farmed properly, we have had seeds, seed banks, and all that. But later I learned that you have those multinationals that bring seeds, the so-called genetically modified seeds, some which have a gene built into them that ensures that those seeds can reproduce. That means that at the end of every planting season, the farmers, the seeds they harvest, they cannot plant them during the next season. So for every planting season, they have to buy new seeds. Then you wonder, how is that supposed to be helpful to African farmers? Is it something that benefits the African farmers or the multinationals themselves? That means we have to go back to the indigenous ways of farming to ensure that food sufficiency is achieved in Africa. The other thing that ails Africa, according to Kato, is governance. Africa ails from some of the weakest systems on the continent. Separation of powers is generally just a dream. You have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The three arms of government are usually supposed to be separate and providing checks and balances for each other. But when it comes to Africa, you find that the executive is the one that is controlling the legislature and the judiciary. The legislature is supposed to provide checks and balances to the other two arms of government, judiciary and the executive. But now, because the executive mostly controls the money, that ensures that the legislature mostly becomes the rubber stamp of the executive. All the decisions they make favor the executive. Also, the executive ensures that the people they put in positions of power are the people who favor them. So when it comes now to distribution of resources, it becomes highly uneven. So at the end of the day, there is undevelopment, there is strife, and usually hunger. So at the end of the day, African youth have to take it upon themselves. The future matters more to them, especially the Gen Zs and the least enterprising. So it is up to them to ensure they take matters into their own hands. They take up government that is accountable to them, so that their future is assured. So thank you so much, Kato Mukasa, for this wonderful book. I wish that everyone, especially African Gen Zs, can read it so that they can take the necessary steps to ensure that the government they put in place is accountable to them and their future is assured. Thank you.
My name is Takudza Mazwendona. I'm a Zimbabwean humanist from a city in Zimbabwe called Mutare. Yeah, cool city. Go check it out. So I'd like to say a few things about a book my friend Kato wrote. It's called The Man in the Middle. It's one of those important books, that I think will push African culture forward because it's talking about issues. It's starting that conversation about things we need to talk about to start developing African society and African culture. And the issue of, as a Zimbabwean, the issue of bad governance and corrupt leadership really gets to me. I've been doing research lately about how we have normalized beating children as Africans. I've come across Zimbabweans in the UK and in Australia that would like to send their kids back home so that they can get beat, because they can't beat them over there because social services will show up. And I was thinking, we've normalized beating children, but when you beat an adult, you'll be arrested for assault. What more, a helpless kid? And people like to say this is our culture, but this is just slave culture, colonial culture. People, it's always ironic about how people who care so much about culture don't care to research how it evolved, where these ideas come from, or go in depth about it. The whole social programming thing just goes on to say obey. So I was thinking maybe the reason why we have dictators, authoritarian leaders, is because we normalize this culture of beating kids from a very young age in schools and at home. There's this oh yeah, you're gonna get beat, there's violence, and this is the way leadership should act. And we've normalized that. You've noticed how the army, the police, they are going to beat citizens and civilians like it's nothing. It comes from that. It comes from that young age where you normalize that. We call it the headmaster attitude because, in schools, headmasters are the one doing most of the beating. And we normalize that, and when we kind of sort of expect authority or leadership to act like they're our disciplinary and abusers. And they do abuse. What's going on in Kenya right now, what has gone on in Zimbabwe for as long as I can remember, it's because we've normalized that whoever is in leadership should use violence to get their means. And that's very problematic. It's upon us to reform our culture and normalize things that will work for us, that will progress us, that, will get us there. Thank you. That's all I had to say.
The Man in the Middle is a very insightful, educative, provocative, inspirational, proactive, and worth reading material. I recommend Kato Mukasa has done a very wonderful job. Everyone, leader, political, spiritual, secular, no matter any leader worth leadership in Africa, Uganda in particular, should buy and read the book, The Man in the Middle. Thanks, my brother Kato Mukasa, for the wonderful piece, masterpiece.
Hi everyone, my name is Wonderful Kuchen. I'm from Malawi, a leader of an organization called Humanist Malawi, a political scientist, and also an author. I am here to briefly talk about Kato Mukasa's latest book. I've read it, I've liked it. It has brought about several different aspects about the African continent in terms of our politics, our economy, and also our culture. But I would like to emphasize the point where he talked about the Harambe philosophy, which is a Swahili word meaning pulling together. That idea is not particularly new in Africa, even though it is well known in East Africa. I would also like to connect it to other African ideas. For example, Leopold Senghor talked about negritude. Kenneth Kaunda from Zambia talked about African humanism. And we also know about Julius Nyerere in Tanzania, who talked about Ujamaa. All these philosophers were trying to bring together Africans to remind them about their inherent communal existence. But now we can see that capitalism has displaced these good ideas about us as Africans, where social welfare has been sacrificed to bring about individual prosperity, which is not a direction that we as Africans have to go. So Kato Mukasa's book is trying to remind us of who we are as Africans through the philosophers of Harambe and the others that I have mentioned. It is indeed unfortunate to see the African continent struggling politically, economically, and also culturally, simply because we have allowed the rest of the world to dominate us. We have also lost our sense of existence, our sense of history. Our narrative is being determined by the West. So Kato Mukasa is trying to remind us of who we are and what we can become if we work together as Africans. All these challenges that we see, as Kato Mukasa said, are human-made. Some of the decisions being done by us as Africans, we have allowed to be taken for granted by the rest of the world. But if we for a moment can sit down and reflect on how best we can work together through the political organizations that we have, for example, the African Union, we can try to find a way of how best to merge our economies, to merge our societies, and bring about an Africa which is united and which has a greater voice on the global world. So thank you, Kato Mukasa, for taking that effort. You did a good research about the book, and it has brought about a discussion which was somehow forgotten, but through the book, the modern African generation and also the coming generations are going to be reminded that Pan-Africanism is not a part-time job. It is a full-time job that we have to be doing as Africans to make sure we free ourselves from the global bondages. Thank you for your efforts. We appreciate it.
Kato Mukasa. Hello everyone, my name is Nandip Andrew Bangfa. I'm an agronomist based in Nigeria. I have read Kato Mukasa's wonderful book, The Man in the Middle. The book is about the people who exploit Africa by intercepting the wealth and resources that would benefit the people. From the prologue, foreword and epilogue, I see the dangers of mafia capitalism and greed. I'm really grateful to Mr. Paul Ewan's foreword that carefully gives a summary of the book. As a local agronomist, farmer and catfish hatcher in Nigeria, I have witnessed the dangers of corruption and abuse of public services and how it perpetuates poverty. The people who steal from public coffers are what Kato Mukasa symbolically describes as the man in the middle. For African people to progress, we must get rid of the man in the middle. They need to be eradicated so that the locals and the poor farmers will be free of their exploitation. I'm talking as a farmer, and what we are going through because of the man in the middle in Nigeria, it is very bad. That man needs to be taken out of our agricultural system. In the agriculture sector, this man in the middle has caused a lot of poverty to some small-scale farmers in Nigeria. When the time of harvest comes, the man in the middle will come and buy all the crops harvested very cheaply, take our fish cheaply, stores them and later sell the same to the farmers at a very high price, without any value addition. My suggestion is farmers should take their farm products to the market and sell directly to the consumers without the interference of the man in the middle. With this the farmers can get the return to their farm labor with profit. I really want to use this opportunity to appreciate and thank the author of the book, The Man in the Middle, to the person of Comrade Kato Mukasa. I want to encourage everyone to buy this book and read it and share the lessons learned with your friends and family. Thank you. I'm Nandip Bongfa from Nigeria.
I am Naseche, Director, Lupus Initiative Uganda. I enjoy The Man in the Middle very much. There are several aspects of what was discussed by Kato Mukasa that I totally agree with, but my biggest takeaway was on the medical aspect. First of all, in Uganda, medical insurance is for the people who can afford, the well-off. And most insurances even will not take on a private person with a chronic condition like lupus, because first of all, it's expensive, medication is expensive, maintenance is expensive, so you do not have so many people willing to take up that challenge. And the medical facilities, most people, 90% of the medical professionals that have come across in the 15 years that I've had lupus, they are hearing it for the first time, to the extent that you are labeled a special case because it is not something that you come across often. And they also do not even know how to treat or manage the condition. So you find that there are so many gaps and so many challenges. Even the research that is done around lupus is done basing on the white people. The photos you have, the medications you have, the organizations, they are all international. There is nothing African. There are no photos that are going to show you what a person living with lupus is going through, maybe the signs and symptoms. They are very, very rare. So there is no lie there. The man in the middle has taken away from us, and our corrupt leaders do not make it any better because they don't care. It is about what goes into their pockets. The corruption is rampant. There is no medication in the hospitals. The medical people are not paid well enough, so they leave. They leave to go somewhere else where they can earn to support their families, and you cannot exactly hold them against that. So this is true. I totally agree with Mr. Kato Mukasa on the issues that have been discussed. But good enough, they are solutions as well. So we need to be accountable. You, me, our leaders, our people we live with in the community, we need to be accountable. If corruption does not stop in Africa, we are not going anywhere, and lives are at stake. So I thank you, Mr. Kato Mukasa, for writing this book for us. It is something that I can share with my children, with my siblings, with my friends, with my colleagues, and they will understand because it speaks to all of us, and they have been going through this journey with me, and they totally understand. I am actually sharing it with my colleagues, people we work around with, to find ways to address gaps in our struggle with lupus every day. So this is going to be one of those books that we can pick from and we can share with our circles. Thank you very much, Mr. Kato Mukasa. This is a wonderful piece of art, wonderful piece of work. It has really touched some really deep topics that we should address and make it normal for our people to address and not shy away from.
My name is Mugenyi, a human rights defendant and activist based in London, United Kingdom. I am deeply honored to be part of the launch of this timely and powerful book, The Man in the Middle, by comrade Kato Mukasa. And I must say that reading this book was a moment of truth. It affirmed what many of us already know, that Africa's greatest challenges are not only external, but deeply rooted in internal systems of corruption, betrayal, and elite capture. As somebody who has taken time to observe developments across our continent, I have witnessed how our people are often left unprotected by the very governments meant to protect them. And this book does not just highlight the pain, it gives voice to the silenced and offers tools for change. One of the most striking part of the book for me was the deep analysis of the mafia capitalism and the corporatocracy that manipulates Africa's economies behind the scenes. It makes one thing clear, that if we are to fix Africa, we must dismantle these oppressive systems. We must invest in education, empower grassroots democratic movements, and hold our leaders accountable. If we do this, I believe that a new Africa is possible. An Africa where public resources serve the people, not the powerful. An Africa where justice is not for sale. An Africa where young people, women, and displaced communities are placed at the center of rebuilding. So I thank you, Kato Mukasa, for your insight, courage, and your leadership in writing this book. And to everyone watching, I urge you to read The Man in the Middle, reflect deeply on its message, and join the movement to transform our continent. Together we can change the story of Africa. Thank you.
My name is Kwame Apigi Danka from Ghana. Friends and truth seekers, what a day to celebrate Man in the Middle by Uganda's own Kato Mukasa. He's a friend, a lawyer, a humanist with a pen of a prophet. This book isn't words on a page. It's a wake-up call, a mirror in a big shiny reset button. It dares us not only stop whining about bad leadership, but to also start facing the real culprit, broken systems and flawed laws. We love to dream of heroes like Kwame Nkrumah, Sankara, and Lumumba, legends who fought for Africa's unity and dignity. But Kato's got news for us. Even superheroes can't save a system rigged to support and protect corruption and inequality. It's just like trying to win a race in a flip-flop. From my perspective on this book, Africa does not need saviors. It needs structure, laws that don't bow to pictures, that crush corruption, and that demand justice for all. We've gotten so used to dysfunctions, like we've forgotten what fairness looked like. We point fingers at presidents and parliamentarians, but Kato points to the quiet chaos makers, the legal framework that laid the madness lies. This isn't about daydreaming for better days. It's about rebuilding the rule of law to keep every leader, rockstar or rookie, in check. Kato is not just complaining, he is handing us a roadmap for bold practical reform. He's the man in the middle, bringing where we are and where we could be. Today is not just a bookland, it's a spark. let's start asking ourselves the tough questions. Why do we accept broken systems? How do we rewrite laws to save the many, not the few? Man in the middle isn't here to sit pretty in our shelves. It's here to light a fire in your minds and push us to rebuild Africa's foundation. So, with all pride and hope in my heart, I officially launch Man in the Middle by Kato Mukasa. May it shake us up, wakes us up, and lead us to a just thriving Africa. Thank you.
Robert Msubaho, the director of Kasese Humanist School. I'm so honored to make a review on the book, The Man in the Middle, authored by my colleague, Kato Mukasa. The book is very interesting as it highlights so many issues, especially affecting Africa, and why most African countries have lagged behind in development, and what has been the causes, and also it puts across some possible solutions on how we can tackle those problems. There are rampant problems of corruption, poor governance, political instabilities, plundering of mineral resources. Yes, but most of these challenges, most of them are organized by our colonial masters. And so it gives an overview on how we can raise our voice, how we can put everything right, and so I recommend it to everyone to read it. Thank you.
My name is Beryl Achieng Mbadi. I am from Kenya, and I'm among the guest speaker in Kato Mukasa's book launch, The Man in the Middle. So, I want to give my input or my thoughts on what I think about Africa, because The Man in the Middle is all about Africa as a whole and the problems and the way forward, politically, economically, socially, how things have been interrupted and how can we move forward from what has happened, and Pan-Africanism. So today I want to talk about a certain aspect that I think has influenced how things are done, where we are as Africa currently. So let me talk about leadership in Africa. I believe the continent is rich, as Kato put it. I could relate to what Kato was saying in his book, The Man in the Middle, because Africa in itself is so rich in everything, rich in mineral, rich in culture, rich in soil, rich in a lot of things, rich in diversity, you see. So if Africa was to take care of itself, it has all that it takes to do that. But I will fault. There's a lot of faulting. We can point fingers at a lot of things, but today I'm going to fault the problems Africa are facing, the underdevelopment, the diseases to leadership. Leadership from independence, leadership from the time of contact with the Western nations. You know, I don't want to point fingers at the Westerns or something like that, but I want to say that from the time we got our independence, we were so happy as Africans. We knew we were going to run ourselves. We knew we were going to do things for ourselves. And we knew we were going to bring back the glory of Africa, return its richness, and make things right. At independence, our problems were only three: illiteracy, diseases, and poverty, which our leaders promised to eradicate and make Africa better. Most of Africa faced the same problem. Kenya, I'm from Kenya, so I can relate. I know historically that was our main problem. But as we speak, our leaders have not done any of that. Poverty is more. Diseases like malaria are killing people. Illiteracy has increased because of poor and expensive education. And they've not even stopped there. They've added more and more. We have corruption currently. We have impunity that is going on amongst our leaders. And if only our leaders could do this right, Africa can save itself. Africa does not need another hand to come and save it. If only the leadership can get this one thing right, leadership, they can turn things up. They can turn Africa into greatness. Our problem is not that there's an Western influence or anything. Our problem is our leaders. And if our leaders, they'll stop being selfish, they'll stop indulging in corruption, they'll stop this divide and rule politics, neo-colonialism, accepting the conditions that are not working for their people from investor or foreigners to develop Africa because of their selfish gain, Africa will be great. I really believe that leadership is our main problem. Thank you.
My name is Bernard Gambale, and we are here to launch the book of Kato Mukasa. Very interesting book that each one of you must read, actually. It talks about the man in the middle. I kept wondering what that could mean. But very interesting book that every one of us has to read. Indeed, in Africa, I don't know what's really wrong with all of us. We've taken up the colonialism and has become part of us. And I think what grabbed my mind is about how the Westerners are really misusing the opportunity that was given to them. Now, when I look at how Africa is evolving in the academia, in the research areas, everything is really based on what they want and really not what works for us. So when I was reading this book, I kept on imagining so many things that are happening out there. One of them was about the academia that we are actually undertaking. If you look at most of our PhDs that are actually funded, the issue is the person giving you the money is determining actually what exactly you have to study. I have seen a lot of issues coming up. For instance, if you look at the pesticides, if you look at the seed industry is being, it's now for the corporate societies. And the question is, what about my mother in the village who has been having her seed for the last many years? Why do you stop her from sharing her seed? And because that is a policy or a regulation, whatever it is that is coming from the West, we've also adopted it, including our countries that actually go on to adopt this and then they use them. They actually undertake these kind of things. And then you look at, for instance, the pesticide industry. The question is, if you have the pesticide industry, why is it that Africa is receiving the highly hazardous pesticide molecules and yet the molecules cannot be used in the Western? So the issues of pesticides, especially the highly hazardous molecules, we need to actually talk about them as Africa and not as Europe. I mean, if Europe cannot use these molecules, why are we using them? The issue is maybe our leaders are being corrupted, the policies in place are not working for them, and so the person is in there. What is affecting us is that middle person, the middleman, who is either the white person or maybe our governments, our leaders. I think we're not prioritizing what Africa is supposed to do. So I wish that each one of us looks at that book, reads it, go in all those sections and make sure you're part of those individuals, the Africans, who are still willing to fight for the future and sovereignty of Africa. Thank you. We meet there.
Charles Joseph. I'm a journalist from Uganda. I work with the Humanist Association for Leadership, Equity and Accountability, as well as the Uganda Humanist Association. I'm here to support my friend and more like a brother, Kato Mukasa, who is launching his book, The Man in the Middle. I will apologize, I haven't yet got time to read it, but I know it must be a very interesting read. As someone who has been with Kato Mukasa for some good time, I have come to appreciate his works, his poetry, works like from a colonial mentality, I think, to freedom. There was how to start that business. Then there was Because I Love This Land. All these have been very, very good works. So I am looking forward to reading The Man in the Middle. And I congratulate Kato Mukasa for quite another interesting read. It takes some real dedication to put something down, especially something that is interesting to the public and also for posterity. And it's also important to note that he has dedicated the proceeds from this book to going to helping young mothers, young girls, because he has been in such projects, witness to the projects he has been in here back home in Uganda, helping young mothers, young girls who have given birth to children, but when the fathers aren't there to take the responsibility. So once again, congratulations, Kato Mukasa, and I do hope this writing helps more your charity efforts as well as taking the cause of humanism forward. Thank you very much. Greetings from Uganda.
Good afternoon, everybody. Right, my name is Martin Forrester, and I've had a quick look at Kato's book. I'm glad he's enjoying his stay in my country, the UK, and I hope my government will continue to make him welcome. Pan-Africanism, right. So this idea of making federations of lots of smaller countries, it's been tried a lot throughout history. The first, I believe, was the Holy Roman Empire, which did not last all that long. It's something that's very difficult. Sad to say that, brutal and oppressive though they are, the empire has a much better track record than this kind of thing. So although it is well worth trying, I'm afraid you are up against it. So don't be disheartened, but do be aware of the challenges. Particularly in America, there is a huge amount of bad feeling in between the states. Remember Hurricane Katrina, when the federal government gave almost no funding to the people who'd been made homeless by that hurricane, because it was in a state that was looked down on. And you can't really call it racism because they are the same race, but there is a lot of bad feeling between the states and the federal government, and a hatred of being told what to do from the top down. So my personal experience is with the EU and with Brexit. My country voted to join the European Economic Community in 1973, 10 years before I was born. But my mother remembers it. She says that before, the British diet then was famously boring, famously bland, and we conquered the world for spices and used none of them. But once we got freer trade with the European Union, less tax and less red tape on trades, we got cheese, we got wine, we got olive oil, we got all sorts of things that were previously no longer available. But very sadly, in 2016, my country had another referendum and we voted to leave the EU. And it's been a disaster. Combined with COVID, things have become a lot more expensive. I used to be able to live and to work in any of the European countries for as long as I liked, visa-free, and this is now no longer available to me. And I really feel that my countrymen were conned into voting for this. The internet and Facebook and social media had a huge part to play in this. The way advertising is targeted at people and can really play on their prejudices. It's very we voted to leave by an incredibly narrow margin, less than 1%, and it should not have gone through. It was pushed through on lies and very flimsy reasons. But anyway, that's the way it is, and that's what we have to live with now. But it was xenophobia and a hatred of foreigners, and not any kind of sensible reasoning that caused my country to leave the EU. So yes, this is what you're up against. If you do try, and I do support a Pan-African Federation, it will give you bargaining power with the rest of the world. You will be a force to be reckoned with. It's definitely the way to go, but it is very difficult, and you must watch out for these attempts to sow dissent. You must watch out for hatred between the African states, and what you really need is a minimum of top-down being dictated to by the African Federation, because people will hate that, and the people who wish to malign your federation will use that against you. So you need an absolute minimum of federal law to allow free trade and free movement, and a minimum of swinging that power around and telling people what to do because you can. Anyway, so those are my thoughts and feelings. I'm coming up to the end of my 5 minutes. Enough of me waffling.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What can I say? What can I say? I'm deeply humbled and exceedingly honored to call you my friends, all of you guys who have been able to make it today and say something. I'm exceedingly humbled and honored to call you my friends. What matters in this world is to have people like you, people who can stand with someone and do arambe and do something together. Thank you, Martin Forrester, my brother in the UK. Thank you, everyone who has made an effort. I should say, my friends, Anya, Elena Overman is sick. She is currently admitted in Cambodia. She's an American long-term friend of mine. And then, of course, Mariam Aliyu got an accident today in the morning. They couldn't be with us. And of course, my friend Todd Mayer in the US also got challenges in the last hour. So we couldn't be together. They would have been in the studio with us. I'm deeply sorry that we got problems, but I'm exceedingly humbled by the gesture Anya, Todd Mayer, and Mariam Aliyu, and everyone showed in solidarity. I want to pass a vote of thanks to the following guys. Dr. Baye Zakim, one of the best thinkers we have today. I honor you exceedingly, do. Tauya Chinama, another great thinker from Zimbabwe. I honor you greatly. Dennis Chanyunji, Ugandan in Zambia. I do respect you and honor you. Elena for the Rails, my greatest friend in the USA, an African American born there. Her parents were born there. She's a product from our ancestors who went there as slaves. I honor you. Elena, the American friend of mine, who has been there with me for many years. I want to thank you so much. I want to honor my great brother, Ongera Matundula. I respect your writing, my brother. Such brave, smart writing. You guys have been writing articles, and I feel amazed. When I look at articles written by Baye, by Matundura, by Silas, by Mugenyi, by Ruchamuzi, these are great masterpieces. And you know, you guys, you can even write better books than myself. I want to challenge you, but also encourage you to write. Dan Odiambo, in Kenya, my brother. I see your comments. I love you so much, and I want to thank you so much. I want to thank, of course, Matundura Ongera. Matundura, Kenyan, right now in German doing his master's degree. I want to thank Silas Wanjohi, my brother, in Kenya. Silas is one guy that has read almost all my books, but also helped me to check my typos. Silas, I honor you. I want to thank you so much. And I'm happy that in this book, we found very few mistakes in terms of spellings, and I'm going to be correcting them. Thank you so much. One guy who can read your book from cover to cover is Silas Wanjohi in Kenya. The first guy who did a human celebrant ceremony as a celebrant in Kenya and East Africa is Silas Wanjohi. I want to thank you so much, Silas. Abraham, my brother in Southern Sudan, currently running away from my country. It is terrible, but I'm with you. Thank you so much, Abraham, for writing. Takudizwa, one of the best brains we have in Africa, is that guy, Takudizwa Mazuwenduna. I'm always happy reading these names. from African colleagues. When I read Takudizwa, the same time I have challenges reading Wonderful's name, yet all of us are Bantu, all of us are people from Africa. But I want to thank you so much, Taku. You write brilliantly. I honor you. I respect your work. And I want to encourage you to write more. Thank you so much, Taku. I want to thank Winnie. Winnie, thank you so much for your contribution. We shall be seeing you more in our work. I want to thank Obasi. Obasi, I honor you, I respect you, I thank you. Obasi is a young lawyer in his 20s, but it's burning up. It's all fire. Very intelligent, very brilliant Obasi. I have hope in you. You're going to do better than myself. Obasi, stay on course. You are the next big man. You are already, but you're going to be an enigma for Africa. Obasi writes well and does wonderfully well for humanism in Africa. I want to thank my brother, Martin Forrester. Martin, I call him an African in a white man's skin. Yeah, Martin, thank you so much. Martin Forrester, you are my brother, my British brother. Martin, thank you so much for loving me and for loving Africa and for being true to yourself. Martin is a brilliant writer, but also a volunteer in different projects in Uganda. Martin, kudos for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Martin. Of course, Anya, my sister, my loving sister, Anya, my sister from another mother. I always tell Anya that you are the equivalent of my sister, Linda Tilly. Now I have Anya Overman. We think alike. And I know she is going to change so much about the world's terrain. Anya is a great writer, a visionary, and a traveler. Anya, my American sister, thank you so much. You are sick. I wish you a quick recovery. Birmie, my brother in Uganda, the administrator at Pearl Vocational, thank you for your work. Nandip, my brother, one of another brilliant minds in Nigeria, is Nandip Bongfa, an agronomist, always writing, always researching, and always talking important issues about changing the terrain of African agriculture. Thank you so much. Sebastian Bambale, thank you. Robert Bambale, my brother in Uganda, one of the famous humanists in Uganda, is a man called Robert Bambale. I honor you, one of the best educationists we have, training thousands of people. Thank you so much for being part of this book project. And of course, Bernard Bambale, another great mind, great thinker, very intelligent guy. That is Bernard Bambale. You saw him, that guy was standing. He's a doctor in a way, so knowledgeable about consumer rights, so knowledgeable about food, nutrition, and all that. Bernard Bambale, thank you so much for your input. Todd Mayer, quick recovery. Mugenyi Atoki, Honorable Mugenyi, my friend in London here. Thank you so much, Mugenyi, brilliant writer. One of the best writers we have for the African Humanist Journal is Mugenyi, a fellow Ugandan currently in London. Thank you so much, Mugenyi, for your beautiful writing. I have hope in you, exceedingly big things coming your way. Barry Acheng, thank you so much. I love your enthusiasm. I love the way you love yourself. Barry Acheng, this message goes to you. I love the way you love yourself. And I love the way you take care of your late sister's children. And I love your advocacy for your rights. I'm with you, and I support all your rights and everything you stand for. Thank you so much, Barry, for being so good a literature teacher, very brilliant English literature teacher in Kenya, but also a very strong human rights activist. Amatundro Ongera, I talked about you. Zerek Yagub, who is in Italy, my friend, the ambassador, Zerek Yagub, currently in Italy, will be with us in the studio in the coming episodes. I want to thank you so much. Mariam Aiza, thank you so much. Nasser J. Mariam, my sister, thank you so much. You made a beautiful contribution. I love that video. I love that kind of talk you made as someone suffering, of course, challenging a lupus and feeling the pangs of having no medicine in a very corrupt country like Uganda, corrupt government like Uganda's government, where there's no medication. You stand tall and speaks truth to the power that be. Thank you so much, Mariam Naseje, for fighting for those who cannot speak for themselves. And I wish you get some more funding for your project. Mr. Kimera, thank you so much. Chile Kwangwa, thank you so much. Ruchamus Joseph, my brother, thank you so much. We have traveled a long way. Ruchamus, I can't say more than enough, because you and me, yeah, we are brothers. We have traveled a long way together, and I'm happy to see you being the journalist you have become, being the leader of our organization, Halea, and being a strong advocate for human rights. Brilliant writer, Richams Joseph, he is always very proud of what he has become. And of course, lastly, my brother, my friend, Pastor Malay. Thank you so much, Pastor Malay. I'm an atheist, and Malay knows it, but Malay is my great friend for many years. Yes, atheist, I work with pastors. Atheist, I work with Catholic priests. Atheist, I work with everyone that is willing to work with me, as long as our trajectory, as long as our vision is to help empower our people in Africa. I want to thank everyone, but I want to caution you, my dear readers, that this book is about Africa and the world. Read it. In my life, I've been helped by many people that are not Black like me. I did mention Mr. Paul Ewans and his wife being one of the people that have been supporting my book projects. And not only that, my well-being. Not only that, many other people back in Africa have been sponsored, supported by Mr. Paul Ewans, educating hundreds of students in Africa, giving food to many people in Africa. So it's not about your skin color. So whoever thinks it's going to be a racist in this kind of fight, you are misfiring. Let us use all the opportunity we have. Work with everyone we can work with. Empower each other. Whether you're Caucasian, whether you're Asian, whether you're Black like me, as long as our goal is to empower humanity, let us work together. I want to thank Senga Ishak for being there for me. Thank you so much. My mother, Janice Crane in Scotland, thank you so much for being there for me. And of course, my other mother, Nalongo Belinda, thank you so much. And of course, a number of so many other friends that have been there for me in my journey to be what I've come to be today. Thank you so much. It has been a launch of one of the most important books in our lifetime, The Man in the Middle. Do me a favor, go to Amazon, go to Gumroad, go to Booksbay, write me a review. Do me one favor, write for me a review for this book, and many people will be able to see it and possibly buy it. Remember, each coin that you give us will go towards building Pearl Vocational Training College, towards paying school fees, towards reviving that college to begin serving people the way it was doing that kind of noble work. Thank you so much, Dennis, my brother. I can't forget you. You've been my pillar in doing this. Without Dennis, I would be doing lots of mistakes. Dennis has designed all my book covers. Dennis is always in the background, but doing incredibly well. I want to thank you, Brian Kabeko, one of those guys behind the thinking that we can do market this project. Dennis Kabeko, Brian Kabeko in Kenya. Thank you so much. I want to thank you so much. There are many comments. I'll be able to read them after the show. And I want to encourage you. There's a number there for Billionaire Peter Clever. If you have any little money you want to give us for the college to go ahead and serve Ugandans, please send that money on the mobile number there. The name is Peter Clever Billionaire. Is the director and the principal of Pearl Vocational Training College. But also, if you can use GoFundMe, we have a GoFundMe link. Please send something there and support us reopen this school that has empowered hundreds of pregnant girls. If you check our website, if you check our Facebook page, we are going to see the number of women, young girls, we are empowering to get a new life, a new lease to life. That's the number of the principal Pearl Vocational Training College. If you have anything you want to contribute, please donate right on that number. Or also, if you want to buy the book, definitely will be donating to the cause. There is a GoFundMe link also on Pearl Vocational Training College. please do donate. I want to thank you so much. You have launched this book, not me. You have launched this book. Thank you so much, everyone, and be empowered even more as we empower us. Thank you so much. I'm humbled. See you when I see you.